Kia ora, New Zealand. In your news today, the NZEI is calling for a full public inquiry into the Novopay debacle. Security breaches are the latest blunders since the Novopay system was introduced 3 months ago. And NZEI President Enleki told Mania Clark from the Rima News team this afternoon those errors are just not acceptable.
Close on a $30 million investment. It's taken years to prepare. And in fact, what we're seeing now is that the error rate is just so high that we need to know what the problems are. We certainly know that they are getting extended daily.
And it's a tense wait for Whangarei kiwifruit growers. It's still unknown whether the vine-killing disease PSA is definitely in the region after a Mangatapiri orchard returned a provisional positive result last week. Kiwifruit Vine Health says testing is still underway on samples sent to 2 laboratories. A controlled area remains in place around 32 orchards in the region. And the Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall continue their tour of New Zealand today as they visited the public in Auckland. The Prince was a guest at the University of Auckland to take a look at some cutting-edge innovation at a showcase at the ONC Glen building. Meanwhile, after spending some time with the Prince yesterday, John Key thinks Charles is thoroughly charming.
He did a great job yesterday in the time that I was with him at Armistice Day, and yeah, I think very much looking forward to being back.
And Prince Charles also gave shot putter Jacko Gill some tips this morning while visiting the AUT Millennium Sports Centre on Auckland's North Shore. Jacko Gill says he was surprised at how down-to-earth the Prince is.
He just asked, told me to keep my diet and keep everything and keep motivated, and told me to if I aim high that I'll succeed on my goals and all that.
In Australia, Emirates says an engine fault is to blame for a mid-air explosion on a flight from Sydney to Dubai. The Airbus A380 safely returned to Sydney after the explosion around 20 minutes into the trip. Passengers have been rebooked onto other flights. And John Key standing by the decision not to follow Australia's lead into signing the next round of the Kyoto Protocol. The Prime Minister says there's no point signing up to the next stage when some of the world's biggest emitters, such as China and the USA, are refusing to do so. John Key says our price-based emissions trading scheme will stay.
But carbon prices are extremely low, as you're probably aware. Now they could move around, but they are extremely low. And the government took a very conservative view when it was due to increase the cost for consumers and businesses this year. It didn't do that.
To the Middle East, where Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is warning Israel is prepared to escalate its response to a flare-up of violence along its border with the Gaza Strip. His comments come after militants fired an anti-tank missile at an Israeli jeep east of the Gaza city, injuring 4 soldiers. It's been reported that Israeli airstrikes and shelling during the night killed 6 Palestinians, 4 civilians and 2 militants. Meanwhile, UN leader Ban Ki-moon has appealed to Israel and Syria to ease tensions on the dispute. The UN Secretary General says he's deeply concerned by the potential for escalation. And one of the investors stepping up to buy the Hurricanes franchise says he's doing it for Wellington. The NZRU has sold the right to operate the Hurricanes Super Rugby team to the Wellington Rugby Union and a number of private investors, including Phoenix football owner Gareth Morgan. He says, like with the Phoenix, he wants to make sure the Hurricanes stays in Wellington.
This particular franchise, Hurricanes, was on the market to whoever was going to step up. So, conceptually at least, somebody could have bought this from outside of the Wellington region. Well, that's just not on.
And sticking with sports and fullback, Israel Dag is a major injury concern for the All Blacks following this morning's 51-22 win over Scotland in Edinburgh. Dag left the field 20 minutes into the tour opener following a heavy landing after a mid-air collision with towering Scotland wing Tim Visser. Coach Steve Hansen says they'll have to assess the damage throughout the week. And finally, it may have been a little nervy for high school students today with NCEA exams starting this morning. Year 11 English was the first exam with more than 46,000 students sitting. More than 143,000 students will sit the exams over the next 4 weeks. And that's all from me and the RBG News team. Ka kite anō.